Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to another online dart special during lockdown. And we've got the African warrior, Devon Petersen. Dev, I know we've been chatting loads on social media, mate. Pleasure to finally get you on.
Yeah, I'm happy to be interviewed by you. I mean, it's not the first time, but obviously on the onlinedarts.com. Congratulations on that, and
Cheers, buddy.
obviously making something that you've been doing for such a long time and creating your own path. This is amazing, and all the best to you for the future.
No, definitely. It seems like a long, long time ago that professional darts was in full swing, doesn't it? How's lockdown treated you, and how have you coped with the whole situation?
I think in hindsight, you look at it as it was an opportunity to kind of reset. And obviously within lockdown, you either going to come out the lockdown stronger or weaker in a sense. And I think if you didn't put in the work in the lockdown, it's going to show. Lockdown for me was fantastic. For the first 3 weeks it took off. I spent loads of time with the family, done what we wanted to do, kind of thing, before it really got to a point where everything was kind of closed and everything else like that. But I think for the last month and a half, I've been doing loads of online tournaments, just keeping sharp, improving where I can and how I want to, and yeah, just tying it in now and getting ready to return to the ring on next week on the 8th of July.
We'll come to that in a second, but I'm guessing for you, it must have been really frustrating because your form was just starting to peak, wasn't it? You got to the semi-final of the Pro Tour back in late February, then mid-March, bang, it's all gone. So from your point of view, that must be hugely frustrating.
To an extent, you kind of look at it now with obviously match play looming, and the 5 events now. Obviously, the entire tour compressed into those 5 events now, and you're missing out on Europeans. I think from a frustrating point of view, it's not from the form, but the opportunity that potentially you could miss. But we're still given the opportunity to qualify, so I'm hoping that I perform well in that, and yeah, and carry on, because my entire model this year was to make a lot more major events, but I knew that the work that I put in will get me there. And then obviously it was picking up, and I thought it's looking fantastic. And then we have this, but I'm obviously it's the same for everybody, and I guess that we've got 5 tournaments to qualify for, and hopefully I'll come out there smiling.
During lockdown as well, you made a big decision on your career. You moved manufacturers. Now, you'd obviously been with Unicorn for an awful long time. Like with Michael, when I spoke to him about this, what goes through your mind? Obviously, changing equipment manufacturers is a huge decision and has a huge outcome on your career, doesn't it? So what was that whole process and decision like?
I think for me, initially, I mean, it's as my career grew, my profile grew, and my perceived value grew as well. And I felt like I needed to kind of marry a partnership. And myself and Unicorn has been there since the inception of Devon Petersen on the Pro Tour. Which was fantastic. They supported me through and through, designed a lot of my stuff that I wanted. But I think that with a change and a change of mentality, the product sponsor at that point, I was looking to kind of expand into different areas. And Japan, obviously, with a soft tip, and also just the amount of people that live in Japan and the technology that exists and so on and so forth. It kind of moved me to that side, and obviously something that I wanted to explore was the soft tip side of darts itself and compete in some of the tournaments. But obviously now COVID happened, so that's kind of put on the back burner. But that was kind of the process. So I looked at all the pros and the cons versus obviously staying put to where I am, and looking at the equipment and kind of finding something that works. And I found something within Trinidad, and when I had the 2-in-1 integrated flight system, that for me was a mind blower. I've always played with the flight connecting into the dart, and obviously having to change so many times because they damage and so on and so forth. Where as I got a durable product now that flies and doesn't really change shape a lot, and now with my darts as well, it's I think due to like people will look at the form currently now and you'll think, well, yeah, he's been practicing a long time and all of this stuff. But the practice has always been there. it's literally when the change came and the equipment change came and all of those things, it kind of just gave me a different outlook. And I think the balance of the system itself, the equipment with the two, it just gave me the ultimate performance, and I feel a lot stronger. And I think that my career has been resurrected, and finally I can look forward to the future with hopes of winning majors.
The actual barrel itself, how long did it take you to get the right one with Trinidad?
Not long, because they obviously allow me to design it, so I knew exactly what I wanted. A lot for me is not about the barrel itself, because you'll see it's a standard barrel with just a lot of with different grips on it. The most important thing is the flight. And a lot of players don't actually take note of that, but the balance in the flight and how the flight obviously carries the dart, that's the most important thing. And once I found the integrated system on this, with a 2-in-1 integrated system, that for me was a closed deal. I could not step away from it. I can't even look at other stems and flights. It feels like such a prehistoric piece of tool now, or kind of tool that everybody uses. But I think that once everybody starts to get onto the integrated flight system, I mean, it will change your life completely and just the way you throw.
That's good to hear. And so it's nice to hear you speaking so confidently as well, because it's a big year for yourself, isn't it? At the moment, we don't know what's going on with the tour. We're all guessing the back end of the year is going to be literally just absolutely wall-to-wall darts. Now, without looking too far ahead, it's a big year in terms of your ranking, isn't it? Because you're defending an awful lot of money come the World Championship. So I'm guessing, is it all road lead to there to make sure that you're in prime position for them?
Yeah, I think number one is obviously to qualify for the Worlds, and so far my form suggested that I will be on route to qualifying. I just need to continue it now. But I think that where I'm at now is I'm one step ahead. I'm just kind of stepping one foot at a time, basically. I'm not looking at all of those things. I've never been a player to look at like the rankings until the end of the year, and then you're looking at, oh, what do I need, this and that. Because once you start focusing on and you start panicking on what's going to happen in 6 months' time, it affects your game today. So all I just do is focus on today and make sure that the results, because the results obviously affect the ranking. So that you can focus on the results today and the ranking will sort itself out. So I'm not too concerned about the world champs and obviously having the last 16 money come off. Because if you look back, the last 16's cash only came on in in December time. But most of that, I was struggling. I never played anything close to that I have been like over the last 6 months or 12 months. And I felt like my career was at the lowest point of that in that year. And so all of this COVID-19 doesn't affect me on my rankings. As you can see, obviously I've shot up because there's been nothing taken off because I didn't win a lot. And now I'm positioned to win a lot more and qualify for a lot more majors. So it will take away from the burden of that massive chunk that's going to come off at the end of the year. And who knows, maybe this year could be that one of that years where I do a stupid, silly run and make it to the finals, and fingers crossed I win it.
God, I'm just going to switch my light on. It's got a black cloud come over. Put the light on. That's better. So yeah, also looking forward, obviously Operation Restart, a week's time, Milton Keynes, the Summer Series. Before we actually get to the darts itself, I think most of us have now read that huge 9-page players brief that's been sent out to all you guys, like I can see by your smile. Have you had time to digest all of that information yet and how it's going to be different?
Hand over heart, it's the first time I've ever read a players brief, if I'm honest, since being in the PDC. You kind of just look at the normal stuff like starting times, venues. You look at if there's any kind of shock rules or whatever, because players briefs are the same. But obviously, this is the first time I've ever read it completely through, and I think that there's loads of stuff that you need to reread and understand. But yeah, it's gonna be different though, and I think that a lot of the world will be changing until I don't know when. Or if this becomes the new kind of normal. But yeah, I mean, even so we're going back to self-marking where players have to mark again, which is a different psyche all in all. Because imagine, just for argument's sake, Peter Wright loses, or Michael Van Gerwen loses, or Gerwen Price loses. They'll have to go and score. So it changes the mentality. You know what I mean? Where before it's just, we had this previously, and the weirdest thing I've ever seen was Phil Taylor score on a pro tour. So yeah, it's quite daunting though. But I think that, I mean, the PDC have put everything in place to kind of make sure that all the players are safe, to make sure that the tournaments go off without any hiccups. And we can only obviously hope that the Project Restart goes great and obviously continues. The big thing is how do majors play out, which is on everybody's lips. And obviously you got the massive fans wanting to know that. And it's for players as well. I mean, playing without the fans at a major event, I mean, we had some sort of taste of it when the UK Open, the Players' Championship, I think.
UK Open.
Yeah, UK Open, where Gary Anderson won against 40 Cadbury, where it was frozen over and there was no fans. That was probably our first experience. And if you watch that, it took away a bit of the tournament, because obviously the fans is where you cut back and you get that experience. But that atmosphere that just creates the game itself as well, or it's a byproduct of the game. So yeah, it's gonna be a crazy restart, and I think that looking forward to it is probably an understatement.
Is there any part of you that's a little bit nervous and apprehensive as well, obviously, because you've got to go down beforehand, be COVID tested, then shut in your room until obviously the results are back, and then mingling? I know everyone's mates and everything like that, but no one's been in that contact with that amount of people for a while, have they? So is there any nerves in you, or are you just like, just get on with it?
Yeah, just get on with it, I guess. I mean, if it can't be holding you prisoner. So ultimately, what they're saying is everybody at some point will get COVID-19, like the flu. I mean, I've not had the flu for a while. So if COVID-19 is obviously going to be infecting us all, then yeah, I mean, I might as well be now. You know what I mean? So it's not. I'm not panicking. I'm not worried. I mean, if you look at the success rate, a lot of the media hype is based on the fear of the death toll that they hype so much. And obviously, my deepest sympathy to all the people that obviously passed on and the families that are left behind to obviously grieve. But if you look at the amount of people that have come through there without having, I know a lot of people that had COVID back in South Africa, and they're coming through it quite easily in a sense, because they don't have any previous history. So yeah, I don't know. I'm not too fussed or too worried about it. A big thing is obviously being locked down for 5 days. It's going to be like a prison, basically. Luckily, I've got my PlayStation 4, and yeah, it will be a lot of gaming after darts and after consuming some food.
Just talking about that as well, it's something I asked Michael Smith. Planning for this is a little bit different, isn't it? Because obviously, once you leave your car and go to the hotel, you can't go back. So in that huge travel suitcase, making sure you've got everything, is that going to be a bit of a challenge before you leave your house, right? Making sure that everything is there that you need.
Yeah, I think obviously beforehand, I mean, prepping is a major thing for any dart player, because you need to know. I've left my black pants at home for a few times. I've left shoes at home. So this time around, obviously, you're going to have to make sure that everything's actually in the bag. And you kind of, it'll just make you a better person in a sense, because you'll be more prepared. But I think that even from a food perspective, I mean, we have a luxury of going to different, especially at Milton Keynes, there's like almost a row of different kind of places restaurants where you can eat. And now you're not going to have that access for yourself. And then you're also looking at not being able to mingle. So myself and Joe Cullen, David Pallett, we used to room together. So now you're looking at it from you're going to be on your own all the time. It's going to be twiddling your thumbs and so on. So practice board will get used a lot. The PlayStation will get used a lot. And just making sure that you've got enough food in your room, because most of the rooms come with fridges as well, if not all of them. So it helps in that case, because obviously you can load up with munchies and stuff like that. But yeah, I think it's just going to be quite weird from a practice perspective as well, because they're saying that the draw will be done at 9 o'clock, and then you'll be allocated your practice board. That's the board you can stay on. So it's gonna be quite weird. Like, does that board mean chock-a-block? Because myself and Joe Cullen used to practice on it before, obviously, the tournament. So now we're not, unless we're on the same board, we're not going to be able to practice. So, and a lot of players have the kind of practice partners where they have the practice games. So it does shift a bit of the things that happen in the normal darting world. But yeah, I mean, you're gonna have to adapt or die. I mean, excuse the pun.
Best case scenario, you have a great summer series and you play in the match play. Worst case, will we see you on media duty so you're still involved in the tournament?
Yeah, Sky have contacted me regarding that. If all doesn't go to plan, but number one is obviously qualifying for the match play, which will be fantastic, making my debut. And I think that whether it's with crowd or without crowd, a debut is still a debut. So you just want to perform at your best. But a major part of it is obviously with the summer series and having those 5 tournaments back to back, it allows you to obviously perform, so you can brush yourself off quickly. Or if you a player that like lingers long in a defeat, it's going to affect you over that 5 days, where I just kind of can brush it off. So hopefully you can get a nice quick run, and yeah, find yourself in the latter stages of each day, and you never know what could happen. I mean, qualifying for the match play is massive, and that will be a massive contributor to the rankings and so on and so forth, but also just sets up your entire career, because that ultimately pushes you to be playing in more majors. And it consistently keeps you there for the 2-year period. So you've got another 2 year on the tour and so on and so forth. So there's a massive knock-on effect just of those 5 events. And we don't know if there's going to be a Q school at the end of the year or next year. So depending on that as well, I mean, those 5 days will definitely benefit you.
Also, there's a huge carrot been dangled. The winner gets a Grand Slam spot as well. I can see by your smile that obviously that means a lot to people like yourself as well.
No doubt. I mean, Grand Slam is one of the tournaments where you play 3 times on TV. Generally, it's a knockout phase. So if you're in, or you get another chance, or if you're out. I mean, it's Grand Slam is one of the tournaments I've always wanted to be involved in, because I feel like it's a quick fire kind of show, which is great. But yeah, I think Barry Hanley knows exactly what he's going to do. But my concern is how does, or not my concern, but another viewpoint is how does the BDO obviously affect the Grand Slam qualifiers now, because those spots that were previously given to the BDO is now going to be available, plus the qualifying spots and maybe and a lot more, because I mean, if you have the same winners on the Europeans, which is now narrowed down to 5 tournaments, how do you then obviously? So yeah, the Grand Slam, I think there's going to be a lot more spots available, and it's probably not the last time that you'll have a qualification opportunity, but what an opportunity to have those 5 games in that time slot. It's going to be fantastic.
You touched on the BDO element of the Grand Slam, and it's something that comes up an awful lot. Do you think, obviously it's a double-edged sword here, we know how obviously Joe feels about this and everything like that, but yes, where it's now a ranked event, people say they shouldn't be there. But also from a darting point of view, does the tournament still need something like that element to make it different and stand alone to all the other tournaments, or do they all just then become the same? Do you get what I mean?
Yeah, I see what you're saying. I think the element of having the BDO and the quality, but previously, I think previously it used to work brilliantly, because you used to have the top players still playing in the BDO. Now a lot of those top players have moved over, and I'm not saying the players currently in the BDO are not top players, but I mean, if you're looking at profiles, players that have come over and competed, and now it's kind of like, does it have its same? Because darts now don't need the mix match of the tournaments. They need new faces, they need new profiles, new people to support, which obviously the Grand Slam allows for that, which is fantastic. I think that the way in which they'll probably expand it is from a woman's perspective and opening it up to a woman, maybe a woman tour and so on, and adding their names and changing it up in that sense. But I don't think it loses any shine. I mean, the PDC is floating, and it's an animal and beast on its own. So it's the Grand Slam still going to be just fine without the PDC. The funny thing is last year, I mean, I commentated on a lot of the Grand Slam, and you saw that the gap between the players itself, BDO performance-wise versus PDC, and because the PDC players, or those top players that have exposure to the big crowds and all of that stuff. I mean, the BDO guys struggled a bit with exclusion of probably like Jim Williams. He played really well. But everybody else kind of just came there and kind of experienced in a sense. They were just bystanders of performances. So yeah, I think it's not going to change anything really, and I don't think it has a massive effect.
One thing we're going to touch on now, it's quite sad, but I think he's talking about is obviously the Black Lives Matters campaign, and especially we've seen it in sport across the UK since it's been coming back. Obviously, you coming from a South African background where there was a quota system in sport for a long, long time, wasn't there? And just your general thoughts on it. And do you think that dart players, or for argument's sake, if you get to the match play, would you take a knee on stage to support it?
Yeah, I think ultimately people. So let me take it a few steps back with the Black Lives Matter. As soon as they hear the word Black Lives Matter, and I've experienced it on social media, I've lost a couple of friends over it, and just people that obviously I've associated with, for the simple reason is that people don't understand that the Black Lives Matter movement is not just the political. It's not just a political standpoint. Ultimately, there is a Black Lives Matter organization, and people tie the Black Lives Matter slogan with that, which is kind of two different things. I mean, if you look at the principles, a lot of the principles are great on the side, but a lot of the things are over the top as well. But if you look at the Black Lives Matter slogan itself, it's literally including, when people say, yeah, but all lives matter, we know that all lives matter. But once you've been black and you've been excluded because of the color of your skin, it doesn't feel like all lives matter, which is a massive thing. It's something that I've tried to educate a lot of people on, but I'm not going to say that racist comes out in them and that people think that they are not racist. But once you see it as in, yeah, but what about our lives? What about our lives? It changes the dynamic. And when you come from a country like South Africa, my parents shielded me from the apartheid time and all of those things. And I know a lot of people that were part of it, and the riots and so on and so forth. And especially the quota system. If you came from a black school, or you were of color, you would only have a quota, as in you'll have a percentage of that. So let's say we had 1 million white kids, 1 million black kids, right? Or kids of color. Ultimately, you'd have 3 kids allowed from this side for the black side, and you'll have 18 kids on this side. And purely not because talent be talent, it's literally because of color of skin. And there'll still be systematic racism in that. So a lot of people don't understand because they don't think firstly, you've not been black. And secondly, you've not experienced it at the levels that people of color have. So the Black Lives Matter is definitely something that is something close, obviously, to me coming from South Africa. In South Africa, I'm not labeled as black. I'm labeled as colored. But in the UK, obviously, if you're not white, you're black. So yeah, I think it's a massive thing, and I think that with the FA, I mean, with the Premier League players taking a knee, having the Black Lives Matter, it shows the movement, because a lot of players have been exposed to racial abuse on the field as well, and once you feel, it's a different it's a different intensity when there's racism or racist slurred words at you and stuff like that, which it affects your psyche, because a lot of the times you only offer love, and when you get that back, it changes, it brings out a different kind of person. And I felt that once reading all of these comments and the All Lives Matter thing. But yeah, I'll definitely be wearing a patch for what the slogan means, which is including all lives and no systematic racism, seeing that we want to include everybody in there. So yeah, I definitely in support of the Black Lives Matter, but obviously depending on the PDC will also have its say of political standpoints and so on and so forth. But yeah, we'll wear a sticker and obviously support it on my page as well.
Just talking on the South African quota system there, just off topic here, I'm quite happy about it because it meant that we get one of the best batsmen, arguably ever, in the history of cricket to wear an England shirt in KP. So I'm quite happy.
Listen, it's not the only players you've got. I mean, you got if you look at globally as well, like Australia got some of our players as well, and so on and so forth, which is great. I mean, we've got an abundance of talent. We just kind of spread it over. The big thing is now that the All Lives Matter or the Black Lives Matter campaign has come along strong. I mean, you look in darts itself, the sport is not very diversified. I mean, especially on the top level itself. But that's obviously not based on because the players can't qualify through color. I'm just saying, like, the sport itself is not diversified in a space of where color is concerned. But that's not what you kind of, everything now almost becomes spotlighted on every sport. Like, I remember Raheem Sterling saying, yeah, play certain coaches because of the color are not being selected. Sometimes it can boil over to a different kind of political standpoint. But I'm not of that view. I'm just saying that my Black Lives Matter is include everybody. I mean, don't see it as from a race perspective. See it from a person perspective, and everybody bleeds the same. So we all should be treated the same.
Staying on South Africa as well, great news for you. The World Cup has been rescheduled, postponed in June, and we were all like, is it going to happen? But it is. I know it's one of your favourite tournaments of the year, and obviously last year we saw the promo video that was sent on Twitter of the scholarships and everything in South Africa. How's that gone from last year to this year with the youngsters playing in South Africa?
Fantastic, if I'm honest. I mean, there's guys, Ashley Moodley and his crew, obviously doing a lot of work because of the online darts. It's now progressed or bridged the gap with the logistical nightmare that we have in South Africa. Obviously, with everything being spaced so far and the country being so big. Now the online darts kids are literally playing on a daily basis, competing against the best kids in South Africa. And this will just increase their level of competency as well as potential as well, and just kind of motivate them from a darting drive perspective. Myself and JDC, we've had a chat, and I will be launching in South Africa as well, which is fantastic. It's been on the back burner for a while, but it's purely because of the logistical nightmare, and now we've obviously resolved it with the online capabilities and what we have to offer. So I think that now it's better now than it was previously, and we're in the worst situation. So I think where we at now is going to be fantastic, and especially for future dart playing professionals, what we want to achieve is kind of promoted in a way that the academy or the JDC Academy now, that uplifts them in a sense that where they have the mental coaching from what the professional is, and so on and so forth, and not just throw you into the Lions then and go play on the pro tour. You want to be ready and actually grab your dream with both hands.
As well, just looking forward, I spoke to Matt Porter a little while ago, and he said you're always in his ear. Are you still hopeful of getting that beloved World Series event in South Africa in the next few years?
It is. It's catching on a bit more. We get in a bit more traction now. I mean, with online darts and everybody being playing it back in South Africa and being one of the only live sports they could watch. So a lot of people have been watching it in South Africa and Africa, notably. So I can't wait for it moving. We have a few interesting or interested parties in South Africa. We're just discussing kind of what, where, and how logistically. My goal is always just a 5-year kind of just host one World Series when it all comes back, and it will catch light and just move on from there. And I think that it would. I don't think you were part of the darts at that time, but the first World Series pilot was hosted in South Africa. I don't know if you know that. In Johannesburg.
I wasn't involved, but I've seen the story, but I wasn't involved.
The very first, and I think it would be great to come, but they went to Johannesburg, which was, Johannesburg's a massive area, and to have the bigger areas that have the most dart players, which is where I'm from, Cape Town. I mean, hosting an event in Cape Town would see a massive flood of fans and just spectators. So yeah, we're working on that, and hopefully in the future, 2-3 years, get you to South Africa and show you a bit of what real sunshine is like.
Well, we've had our summer. We've had 10 days of glorious sunshine. That's it for us for the year, no?
For me, I only saw 4 days. We peaked like 26, 27. Back in South Africa, we have that for 3 months. So we'll definitely show you what a real summer's like.
Dev, it's an absolute pleasure chatting to you as always, mate, and we'll let you get back to your prep and wish you the very best for the Summer Series, and fingers crossed the World Match Play.
Thanks a lot, my man. I appreciate having me, and all the best with your channel. And yeah, if you obviously don't follow Phil Bars and OnlineDarts.com, make sure you follow.
Cheers, buddy.